Gal?
Yes. What's up? Can you hear me?
Titty sprinkles.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. This is the BREWDCAST. I am, as always, Gal Robinson. With us tonight is Leon. How you doing, Leon? Say hi.
It's Leon's knee. It's Leon's knee.
Hi.
And also
Leon.
Leon's knee.
It's a special appearance from Leon's knee.
Yes.
Hi, Gal. Hi,
we've been trying to get him on for ages. And also we have with us tonight the wonderful Town.
The knee's got more talent than Leon. We all know that, right?
Ouch.
It's going to carry the podcast. It'll be Leon's knee. Some weird fetish for like ogre knees is going to really like pop this video. Now that I said it too, we're going to get a lot of hits on this video.
Yeah,
ogre knees.
Now AI has latched onto it.
Gal, make sure you like hashtag this video knees.
Ogre knees, not regular knees.
Well, knees and ogre knees. We don't want to pinhole ourselves too much.
We can't call that a knee though. That's only an ogre knee. There's no way it's regular.
We want a broad audience.
We do.
The BREWDCAST is for everybody.
It's for everybody. All
Especially
fetishes.
if you like ogre knees.
All fetishes. We don't care. So let's.
The Brood does not kink shame.
We do not. No, we do not.
Oh
We
God,
absolutely do not. Let's talk about.
We will occasionally kink ask why, but we will not kink shame.
Yeah, it's true. So Dynamite happened. Let's talk about that instead of fetishes that we're making up on the spot. Potentially, maybe not. It's a pretty good show.
Let's be real. It's definitely real.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah.
Sorry, let's talk about wrestling.
Or not. We can just keep talking about fetishes. I don't care. This is the new show.
The Brood Fetish Podcast.
This might be a new record for me getting Town to check out the fastest.
Yeah, you guys have fun. I'm gonna go.
Okay. Dynamite. Let's talk about Dynamite. Thoughts, because in this moment I'm not remembering them.
MJF came back.
Oh, of course, cool. Yes.
He's gonna fight Roosh. Roosh has no chance. Roosh has no chance to beat MJF. Not in any It's just a warm up for him coming back. No offense to Roosh, because I like Roosh.
I mean, yeah, but I think that they're both gonna. I think it's gonna be a good match. I think.
Yeah.
He was like MJF.
I think those two will beat the hell out of each other. It'll be.
Oh, absolutely. And MJF is not one to put someone over. He definitely put Roosh over tonight, which I appreciated.
I think he's better at putting people over than he gets credit for. I think he's a little wiser to the business now that he kind of got up there and he understands his role. Because before he was climbing and clawing and trying to get to the top, kind of like at 97 Austin was all about Austin, and he would steamroll everybody that was in front of him because he had to. And I think that's what MJF did for that climb. But now he's kind of got it.
He's there. He's gonna share the love. I'm sure that's part of why he's fighting Roosh.
I think it's a good thing for him to come back to.
It's also it's just a good match for that card in particular.
What's going on with Leon?
Just oddness, just oddities all around.
I agree with the point you're making, though. I think he's learned how to not bury other people while getting himself over.
I think he learned that halfway through that title reign. I think before that, but that's what got him over. I mean, that's the thing. That's what got him over. That's why people liked him, because he just was like, "Fuck it, I'm going scorched earth." Him being back is good because it makes the show feel better, I guess. It feels like it has way more star power. He's their guy. He's their guy. He's their top guy. No doubt. Swerve's great. There's other guys that are great, but nobody's him. He's just crowd in the palm of his hands constantly.
Mm-hmm.
He's reinventing himself, which is great. I'm excited to see what angry MJF does as opposed to goofy MJF, because that's what we got last time.
Yeah.
Because goofy MJF was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But
well, there's still elements of that in there too. The thing that I enjoyed was that like his first 3 minutes, 5 minutes was him calling out all the baby faces, like Swerve and who's it? Osprey. I forget who the first one was.
Rainmaker.
That's right. I guess he's not a baby face.
I
appreciated that though.
No, just I think I think it was less calling out baby faces and more calling out anybody in the company who might have some claim to his best in the world, better than you and it shtick.
Absolutely. But I think go ahead.
You're going. I'm going to change the subject, but it's going to kind of be related to MJF, so you go first.
I think
Okay.
in most cases when a guy comes back and they have like this list of people, they like if he's babyface, if the person coming back is babyface, they're not going to call out baby faces. I guess that was the thing that I was appreciating, because it was just like fuck, like he didn't care. He's going to fight whoever. And I think that puts him in a good spot to like wherever he winds up at All In, wherever he winds up at I guess Forbidden Door, but we already know where he's going to end up there. He can fight anybody. It doesn't have to be a babyface heel thing.
I'm looking at the Owen Hart tournament, and that tournament actually has way more meaning this year because whoever wins it gets a shot at All In.
Yeah.
Who the fuck wins it? Do you give it to Danielson he can main event, or is that too easy?
I think it's Danielson.
Or do you give it to Max?
I think it's Danielson, and I think he wins the match, and then he relinquishes the title because he doesn't want it. Like, he's made it clear that he doesn't want that. But I think Tony Khan.
But are you gonna put him over Swerve?
No.
Or do you get that off of Swerve?
That's a fair point.
But if you get it off of Swerve and you just make a quick transitional champion, does that devalue that belt? Because in the way I'm looking at it, the way I'm thinking about it, kind of like with the Royal Rumble back in the day when they started saying, if you win the Royal Rumble, you get a title shot.
Mm-hmm.
That used to actually mean something because it means more than likely you're going to win the title. So if they want to make this Owen Hart tournament mean even more, because I like the Owen Hart tournament. I think it's a great tournament.
Mm-hmm.
Do they have to make it whoever wins that wins the championship? And if that's the case, how do you do it with Daniel? Like, do you give it to Danielson and then like have him just lose it right away, or do you do what you did with Sting? Because I don't think that also sets a good trend. That's where I'm at with it.
That's a good point.
Because I think it's different with the tag belts, but like for the world championship, if you're gonna have the world championship and you're gonna have a guy win it and then vacate it, it's kind of like, oh, come on. And that doesn't feel like what Danielson would want to put somebody over. That's how I'd feel with that. Like if he wanted, he'd want to defend it. So maybe you have him defend it for like 2-3 months and then put somebody over. But I guess that kind of goes to my point of who the hell else could win that.
Mm-hmm.
Like who can main event Wembley with Swerve? I don't think it's going to be Ospreay. Or is Ospreay about to beat Swerve and become champion?
I had a crazy thought earlier today.
Because if Ospreay becomes champion and beats Swerve, the Danielson-Ospreay match is already fucking made. Like, those two had the match, like, round 2, let's go.
Mm-hmm.
But does that make sense? What do you do with Swerve? Then are you shitting on Swerve? Because initially I thought there's no way in hell Swerve's losing this belt, but now I'm sitting here like, Ospreay is so hot, Ospreay is so good. Do you have Ospreay win it, and do you have MJF win the fucking Owen, and you put those two in Wembley?
I had this crazy thought of, what if you give the belt to Ospreay, give both belts to Ospreay, and then you have, and this is super crazy because I don't know how close he is at this point, him and Omega at All In. But then, I mean, Bryan Danielson would be an excellent stand-in for Omega. in that
Yeah,
same
but Omega
match.
would have to win. So whoever's going to win the Owen though is going to get it. So you'd have to have
that's true.
Omega back
That's true.
quick, and there's no way he's coming
And
back.
I
quick.
didn't know that when I was coming up with this crazy idea.
That's not a bad idea. They have a lot of guys who are there, but they have one guy who's like they're there. Like they have their guy, and it's MJF, and they have a bunch of other guys who are like really fucking good that are up there, and fans believe them. But like they have the guy. But if you put the belt right back on MJF, he's gonna lord over that fucking thing like John Cena did.
Yeah.
So you don't want to do that either.
I don't know that they're gonna give it to MJF. I think
eventually they will.
They will eventually, but I don't think it needs to be all in
time.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it's going to be MJF versus Adam Cole again this year. I think that makes the most sense.
Going to be healthy. Is Cole going to be healthy for that?
I mean, he seems like he's getting there at the very least.
I mean, that would make sense. That would be a big match. I do feel, and Leon might agree with me or might not. We're going to find out in a second. I do feel that all the steam from that MJF Adam Cole feud is gone because it's been too long. MJF came back, dropped Adam Cole, basically said, "Get this piece of shit out of my ring," and was done with it. So it kind of feels like so he'd have to come back, and they'd have to jump MJF, and they'd have to recreate the situation. But MJF almost seemed like, you know what, fuck you, I'm done with you. I don't even care. You brought out the real MJF now, or whatever.
It could be, but at the same time, I feel like it wouldn't take them more than a segment or two to heat that right back up to boiling.
That was what I was thinking. Like,
I would hope.
And then
because MJF at this
with
point,
those two for sure.
MJF at this point thinks that it's over, and so you can feed into that storyline, and then Adam Cole jumps him, like on a random, like you were saying, on a random segment, and you don't even see it coming.
You have to refeed that though, because both those guys got hurt when you did that angle. That was like the worst time to do that angle. If Cole would have been healthy and could have like been on TV pushing that, and then MJF came back and beat the shit out of him, and they went right into the feud, that would have made way more sense. I get it can't happen because of injuries, but
I think that was probably the plan.
It had to be the plan.
Jumping off that ramp,
kind
of threw a wrench and everything. I kind of wanted to go back to Danielson real quick. There was one little part. I forget the exact wording, but he said something to the effect of like, this last year of his career isn't over yet, or something like that. And like I said, I forget the exact wording, but it kind of made me feel like they might be laying groundwork for a title reign, because that kind of sounds like I'm not gone yet. I'm not going anywhere yet. And, kind of move the goalpost a little bit where he could stick around for a while and still be a full-time competitor. Because maybe that's what Tony wants to do. Maybe Tony talked to him into it. We know that he doesn't care about the belt, but he's a guy being there. I mean, why would you not want him in that lineage going forward?
Yeah, absolutely.
That's what I thought too. That's what I thought too. But I just think if he wins it, then vacates it, that's just a waste. That's why the fuck would you do that?
I don't think they'll just go with a straight vacate though, unless the worst happens and he gets hurt during the match or something like that. Which
I feel like it's easy. Too, so. It's easy to get the fans behind him. He's a real easy guy to cheer for. So like I look at that and I go, you could easily build that up. But a Swerve, like, I don't know, are you gonna? I also like look at a Swerve MJF feud and I think like under the right context that could be fucking amazing. Those two just kind of riffing off each other would be fucking amazing.
Honestly,
you get that
those two destroying each other on the mic night after night. I could go for that.
The over the top Swerve that was doing that shit to Hangman unleashed on MJF, then MJF responds. Like that could be Austin Rocky levels of solidness.
But especially if you look at how MJF performed in that CM Punk feud, like he was his most despicable self. And if you have the two of them, like we've talked about in that feud, if that feud were to happen, who's the face? But we have just sort of come up with this thought of who's the heel? Like, if they're both heel in this feud, like that could be incredible. Honestly, I almost wonder if like they're gonna. Sorry, I almost wonder if they're gonna drop the title to Ospreay, or if Swerve's gonna drop the title to Ospreay, and then Swerve is gonna go right into a thing with MJF, and that's what they do it all in. That could be really cool.
I could see that. Kind of going back to Towns' comparison of MJF to Austin in '97. I guess him and Swerve both feel like Austin at that point, in the fact that they're both tweeners. They can both feud with faces or heels. All it takes is a promo, a segment of, I'm going to come out and save this person, or I'm going to come out and low blow this person, and all of a sudden, boom, they're a face for this thing.
But the other
deal for this thing.
The other beauty of that, though, is that when they tried that with Austin in '97, and they tried to have him be a heel, it never worked. And right now, I think if you tried to have MJF be a heel, I don't think it would work. I think it's almost the same thing. He's got that anti-hero status, and we haven't had a real legit anti-hero. We haven't had a legit anti-hero in wrestling since Steve Austin.
So more of the heel, or excuse me, more of the face who does dastardly shit, but we still cheer him because he's
because his charisma and all that shit.
And you could argue.
You could argue that CM Punk was, but I would disagree with you because I think CM Punk was not. I think he was too, and I don't think it's him. I think that was more of the product was so focused on PG bullshit, and the crowd was fed other things, and the crowd was more than willing to boo him when the time came. As opposed to MJF, they're not willing to boo him. Steve Austin, they were not willing to boo him. They tried so hard to make that fucker a heel. They did so much shit. They had him yell at the crowd. I'll never forget one promo Austin came out and they were cheering him after he beat the shit out of Bret Hart. And he looks at this guy in the audience like, "You fat son of a bitch, why are you cheering? You didn't do anything. That was all me." And the guy's just going fucking crazy popping for him. And that was when I think the WWF knew, like, okay, we can't get this guy heel heat. Like, we can't do this anymore because he's just a good guy. And there's nothing, as much as he's not. And I think it's an interesting concept because I was around for a lot of the 90s shit. Like, I watched every episode of Monday Night Raw from 1993 till about 2006. Every episode. Like, I didn't miss an episode. And then things got, like, shitty, and I just kind of turned it off. But I remember Diesel. Diesel was a heel, and he was fucking cool, and everybody cheered him. I remember I went to a house show in '94 and saw him in Stevens Point, and he beat the crap. I don't know who he beat the crap out of, but they just beat the shit out of this dude, jackknifed and pinned him. The crowd went fucking nuts. And they knew what they had, and they turned him face, and then it was like this instant, all right, now you have to smile and kiss babies and do all this shit. And they took away the cool factor from him. And his title reign sucked, and that was part of the problem. Is he went from being like this badass, I don't give a shit, I'm going to beat the shit out of you, to happy-go-lucky, smiling baby face, which didn't work. That was why when Austin got over,
shaking hands and kissing babies and all that fun stuff.
When Austin got over in '97, 96, '97, when he cut that King of the Ring promo, they didn't know what to do with him. They wanted him to be a heel. The crowd just loved the fucking guy. And they never did that piece where he started kissing the babies. And that was why it worked. Because if they would have made him, go out and do the smiling shit and do this and that and tell the fans how much he cares about them, we would have shit on him in 3 seconds.
Yeah.
Like, we would have shit on him. And I think that has been a problem in the WWE, we'll call it now because it was the F back then, but in the E, that's been a problem for them since Austin. Because they just want their babyface to be, go do charity work, do this, do that, smile, take pictures, be here. And that was what Austin wasn't. That's why it worked. And I look at MJF.
Go on talk shows, do all the media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I look at MJF and I go, okay, he's an asshole. He can cut a promo. He can work. And he's not changing who he is. And that's why this is going to work, because it's organic, and it's just, he built it. He did it. The fans are behind it. Don't fucking change it. Don't fuck with what works within reason. So I think that's an important. They don't have that with anybody else. WWE has that with no one. They have Cody Rhodes. Cody Rhodes is just John Cena.
Yeah, except
I
more.
mean,
I
he
think
re-
more
Yeah,
people
pretty
like him.
much.
He is. I like Cody. I have nothing wrong with
Mhm.
Cody. I'm glad Cody's champ. Cody's having some fucking kick-ass matches as champ. It's great to see a champ that's actually out there wrestling compared to Roman Reigns, who did nothing. Awesome. Like, I like Cody.
Zing.
I don't have anything against Cody, but I look at the situation and I go, that's
I like
John
world
Cena.
champs who wrestle.
That's John Cena 2.0. That's all it fucking is. It's John Cena 2.0. I'm here for the kids. I'm here for this. Da, da, da. He's like a weird mix of Sting and John Cena because he wants to also be like 1991 Sting when they were trying to push Sting as a
I
hero
mean,
to all the
who
kids.
doesn't, man?
But
Let's be real. All of us want to be 1991 Sting.
but they had no clue actually how to like book him or get him over like late in that situation. But this is different. They're doing great with Cody, but I look at Cody and I go, okay, he's just your white meat, never say die baby face.
Mm-hmm.
And that works up
Mhm.
there for them. But like I look at AEW, I'm like, that's why Cody didn't work because the fans weren't going to buy that. And if you think about the fan base, I think a lot of the AEW fan base now is people that were like us. We were Attitude Era people. We grew up in that Attitude Era. We came out of the 90s, the late 80s and the 90s when shit was like really basic when we were kids. We got older, we got tired of it, it got stupid. Then they went to the Attitude Era. And then like they kind of tried to go back
Mm-hmm.
and give like a whole new generation, which they did to their credit. There's kids that watch it. There's kids that are now 20 that are in the same boat we were.
Mm-hmm.
And they're looking at this era now like, wow, it's crazy. It's so over the top, even though it's not because we saw the Attitude Era. These kids don't know shit. Damn kids. But like a lot of us, we left, and I think that's the core AEW audience right now is that core of people who were like, WWE, their product sucks, and they're like I've said a million times, it's going to offend you. It's not as bad now with Triple H. Like there was other issues, but I think a lot of us are there and we kind of look at that, and that's the guy we want to cheer for because we really liked Austin, and now we have an MJF, and I think that's super important for AEW, and that's why I'm glad he stayed because I don't think his shtick. I don't think WWE would have handled him right. I think that he would have been too stifled. I think he would have been too trolled, and I think they would have kind of like when they try to turn the Miz face and make him like happy-go-lucky bullshit over the top friendly guy, and he just seems so fake. That's what they would have tried to do with MJF because the dude can sell shit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, basically turn him into the learning tree.
Oh my god, that was amazing. Those promos were those segments were amazing tonight. I loved every one of them.
I hated it.
Oh,
I hated
God.
it so much.
But it's so
much.
It's so bad it's good.
How much I loved it. Yeah.
I am not saying it wasn't good. I am not saying he should stop doing it. I just hated it. Nails on a chalkboard. I said it last week and I say it again.
So
it's
fucking
so cringe.
But it's
He's
so,
doing a fantastic job with it. He's so fucking good at it.
I love Taz.
Absurd.
Why is he yelling?
And he is. He doesn't do it. Hey guys! Hey guys!
He just like cranked it up to 11. Jesus.
It's so good though.
It is.
Every good character. Yeah.
I hate it, but it's good.
No. I hate how much I love it.
Are we gonna get a mixed tag match with Willow and Orange Cassidy against Statlander and Trent? Is that where we're headed?
I would love that. I don't
It kind of feels like we're coming that way. Like I know factions like they love their factions, but it's kind of weird because it'd be a Don Callis guy unless like are Stokely and Stat gonna join the family, or are they just gonna play off their or Stat's former association?
I think that's what they do. I like Stokely and Stat. I think that's a good mix. I think there's a lot they could do there. I think Statlander as a heel is going to be really fucking good. I've been waiting for that for a while.
I mean,
it's kind of an off point. I really like her choice of tops lately, where she's like showing off that new chest tattoo and shit. Like just the different cuts and everything has been cool as fuck.
Yeah,
she's being really creative with that shit.
I really want to see. There's two matches I really want to see right now. One is Orange and Trent just in a fucking bloodbath. Like I want those two to murder each other.
Deathmatch.
And I want Willow and Stack to do the same thing. I want them to get like 30 minutes to just fucking murder each other.
Mm-hmm.
Like they need to do that because that feud has heat. That feud has heat.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I saw it coming from both of them from a mile away, but it doesn't matter because sometimes that's the best shit. I just want to see them beat the shit out of each other.
It was just they were both one of those where okay, things are just going too well. They're setting us up for fucking something here.
I also going back to Chris Jericho, the learning tree. The newest member I want in there who to act is just as over the top as Chris Jericho and be just as annoying is fucking Sammy Guevara.
Oh my god.
Oh my god.
Because Sammy Guevara in that atmosphere would be fucking amazing.
Yeah. I'm
That
now
is
imagining like him
tailor-made
taking all of
for
that
him.
like when like him and Ty
Kind of
Mello
speaking.
like in there,
Oh,
but like they're doing the
Jesus.
opposite of what they were doing when they were first trying to get heel. Like they're like, we're not gonna kiss. We're not gonna do. They just hold hands and shit. I love that idea. That's such a great idea.
Not going to see our tongues. No, you could.
Just
No,
covers the camera.
It's kind of interesting what they're doing too with how the Redwood is 100% adopted the same persona
Mhm.
and is going into that whole shtick, but then the bounty hunter is pretty much being the bounty hunter. He's just with them right now. I'm wondering if he's going to change that up after being with him for a time. You know, he spends enough time under the learning tree. He starts to rub off on him. Phrasing, but
I think
yeah,
having him,
it's-
I think having him be opposite works really well and adds to the thing because you need that one like that's
forgive
that
the
one
pun,
hard
being
edge.
the straight guy.
Yeah, you always need a straight guy or a guy that's. You need a guy like that that's just kind of like. I realize these other two are insane, but you better respect him. Like I think it's perfect. Very Brood-esque, if you ask me.
It is very brutal.
Yeah, it was like Gal back in the day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Town ridiculous,
Gal
idiot,
being-
over the top.
Gal
Leon,
being the serious straight one.
Which is very funny.
Leon
right
being
now.
Leon.
I disagree because I don't think Gal was the serious straight one. I think Gal was very, very naive. I think being naive was what it was.
Yeah.
But that
Absolutely.
just kind of a form of the straight man in the whole comedy trio thing.
I think so.
And that one, yes.
It's another form of it. Yeah.
I watched videos from the old WWE YouTube channel.
Oh boy.
The other day. I
Okay.
don't remember why.
Every once in a while, I'll break out the floppy dance for every once in a while for randoms who, you know,
to scare them.
don't know about my past.
Yeah.
That clip of Leon with the Band-Aid over like the little metal barb that he had that was supposed to be a piercing. It is every fucking time I break, I crack because it's so fucking funny.
It is. It really
was done so perfect. And Gal's response, head straight down, trying to hold it together. And Leon's like sitting there, like pointing at it, and he's like batting it back and forth. It was just, oh my god, it was amazing.
Good shit. It was good shit.
It was amazing.
100%. Oh Christ.
Classic.
That's to be honest though, that's kind of the vibe I'm getting from the Learning Tree. It's very Brood. It just seems very Brood. It seems like a Brood episode where Town goes over the fucking top trying to be nice and it's ridiculous and everyone knows it's bullshit. And then Leon just completely buys in and is like, yeah, sure, I'll do the same thing. And Leon just acts like Town because it's what Leon did 90% of the time. It's very good. It's very entertaining. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
I'm enjoying it.
Have our old videos been getting lots of hits from Florida?
Why Florida?
I don't
That
think
would
so.
be where that's where Jericho lives.
Fair enough. Okay.
What else we got? All right, thank you everybody.
People are
for enjoying.
People are leaving. Mark Henry left. Mark Henry's gone.
Right. Mark Henry.
What?
Arn
He
Anderson.
left.
Jake Hager.
Yep.
What the fuck?
And then Ethan Page and Matt Hardy, but that was back in March. Yeah.
Oh God! Now that you mention it, I do miss him doing his intros for the main events
Oh yeah,
for Rampage.
it's time for the main event.
I thought he was going to go back to the E, and he did not. I think he's. I think there's two things. I think one thing is Tony Khan for a while there was just trying to pull everybody in that he could,
Mm-hmm.
and he brought some people in, and it was like, why are you here? And Mark Henry was one of those people, and I think he was doing some coaching.
Yeah. I think so.
I think Arn is a product of Cody leaving, but I don't think Arn's going to go back to the E either.
I think Arn was a product of wanting Brock out of there, or Brock is out of there, whichever one it is. I don't remember. I think he wants to be with his kid, and I don't think Brock has a
Where did Brock go?
space in AEW right now. I don't know.
I don't think he does either. I think he's not ready. I think like watching him, like he had the name, and that was one of the things that they kept doing early on was bringing these guys in that were like young, like really young, and had that connection to somebody else, like Brock Anderson, like Pillman, and they just were not ready. Pillman's doing okay though at NXT from what I've seen, so I like him. I hope he makes it. I hope he makes it. Ethan Page goes to NXT.
I mean, that's kind of a perfect move, honestly.
Does nothing and gets a title shot immediately.
Because he's Ethan Page. They don't. I mean, like that's classic WWE. It's like, oh, a famous guy shows up, or someone who has a name shows up.
A guy who was a lower
mid carder. Have you a title shot?
Yeah. A guy who was a lower mid carder in AEW. Bring him in, give him a title shot. I realize it's NXT. I like Ethan Page. I hope it goes well.
He's good. Like he's good. He deserves it. But like they do not have the same standards that AEW does. Like AEW, I don't know if they're still doing the ranking thing, but like doing the ranking thing was like a perfect thing because then it wasn't just like, hey, I showed up, so now I get a title shot, right? Which is kind of rowdy.
I thought Ethan Page was missing something.
Yeah.
And there was always like he needed that one little bump or that one little step, and he never got it. And I don't wonder if I'll tell you what I think sunk him would be when MJF came back and was the devil, and that shit happened with Punk. I think that's what sunk Ethan Page.
I think that the firm would have been amazing for him.
I think that's what he needed. He would have been number 2 to MJF. And MJF, they already knew he was going to go face. He could have turned on MJF. He could have been the heel, and he could have had that spot.
Yeah.
And I think him and MJF would have had a great feud, but they just did not. Thanks, Punk. Cock.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. It's a fair read, and it's frustrating.
There's another guy who's gonna get a title shot at SummerSlam. Punk and McIntyre. They're doing it.
Okay.
And I'm like, what will he hurt this time?
Wait, who's the champion right now?
Still Damian Priest, but they're going to.
Oh, right.
They're going to what's the name of that show? It's over in England or something, Glasgow or something.
Something in the castle. Clash in the Castle.
Yeah, they're doing Clash in the Castle. Love that idea for a pay-per-view. Love that they're doing it out of the country. I like what they're doing with that because they're going places, and I think they're trying to move away from like Hell in a Cell. It's Hell in a Cell. We have to have a Hell in a Cell match. No, that's not how that should be. A Hell in a Cell should be when you fucking need it. Don't do one every year. If you don't have to do one, so be it. Because when you bring it out, it means more. Not, oh, we're going to have 6 of these in a night. Well, that's fucking stupid. Don't do that. Same thing with Elimination Chamber. Don't do it like that. Do it when you need it.
Yeah.
I always hated that. That always fucking bothered me. But I love Clash in the Castle. I love that concept. But I think McIntyre is going to win the belt there. In front of his home crowd. Like, that would be fucking awesome. And then he'll lose it to Fragile Phil, and that'll be that.
Potentially.
And then at the press conference afterwards, he can eat muffins, and he'll be mad at something because he's when he gets hurt and he's gone. That's when he gets mad. That's always when he gets mad. So he's gonna come back cranky. What it'll be, who knows?
Cranky.
I just want to know. Days. I want to know who's getting punched. I want to know who's getting hit with a chair, and I want to know who's getting bit in the arm.
I want to know who's going to protect Larry.
That is the most important part.
Last time it was Kenny Omega.
Kenny won't be there. Maybe Kenny will like repel from the ceiling. He'll be able to sense it.
I'm here for Larry
with his Kenny senses. There's a dog in trouble.
Yeah, I don't know. I think August is gonna be a big month for wrestling this year, though. I think there's those. I think SummerSlam's gonna be really fucking good. They're gonna do Roman solo at SummerSlam. Leon, are you excited for that?
I can't even contain myself.
Roman's coming back as a babyface with Paul Heyman. I wonder if it's actually gonna fucking work, or if they're gonna just boo the shit out of him.
I sort of just wonder if they're like, I just want them to pull the trigger on whatever they're like. It's clear they're bringing in The Rock as like the head of the family, right? Like that's what it seems like anyway. I'm not watching, but like I'm reading all the comments and I'm like, that makes the most sense.
From what they said, they're doing Cody Rock next year at Mania.
I think that's a great call. They should do that,
especially if Cody wins.
Mm-hmm.
But then Cody's holding that belt for over a year too, though. You know what I mean? That's a long, unless you pull it off of him, which may be what they do. They may pull it off and get it on The Rock and have Cody beat The Rock, which would be kind of neat.
It's also the E. They're very into like long reigns right now, so they just had just had a champion who held it for like 19 years and 7 days, and so like putting a title on somebody for a year and 3 days seems less severe. I also think like it makes a lot of sense because it's like
so Gunther won the King of the Ring,
okay,
and he gets a title shot now,
okay,
but clearly he can't get a title shot at. So he gets it at SummerSlam, right?
Mm-hmm.
Are they going to have him fight Cody? Because if you're going to have Damian Priest drop the strap to McIntyre so he can fight Punk for the belt, because I think they want to give Punk the belt. Like that seems to me what they've been wanting to do for a while, which makes no sense to me because washed up old guy. Well, I like those though. Or do you have Punk cost McIntyre the match in front of his home crowd, and then we get Gunther, Damian Priest at SummerSlam for the belt, and then you can still put Punk and McIntyre on that card, but it's not for the belt?
Yeah.
Because Gunther has to be fucking champion before this year's over. He's their guy.
One would think. I think like...
Or do you have him beat Cody at SummerSlam?
Ooh. That's intriguing.
But then how would you set up Rock Cody? Like, you'd have to get that off of Gunther.
I could see, like, Gunther versus Damian Priest almost feels like you could do Priest and Gunther and then have, like, Drew and CM Punk. It almost makes more sense to have no title at hand until, like, maybe later next year, like sometime after WrestleMania, or even just WrestleMania.
The only thing though is if they want to give Punk the belt, which I think they really want to do, because that seems to be like their only goal with him since they got him, with let's give him a belt. And I don't know why, because his last like title reigns have been really bad. They were really bad. They were hard to watch. They were bad. And it's because he can't stay healthy. That would be my reason that I wouldn't give him the belt. Now, if he makes a run and we get him from like SummerSlam to Mania and he stays healthy, then cool. Then give him a belt. Yeah, fuck yeah, do it. CM Punk, but like just having him come back and then win a belt his first match back doesn't seem logical, especially when you have a guy like Gunther who really fucking needs a strap right now, and they just need to let him murder people with chops, just death by chop,
just over and over again. Again, you're not wrong.
Not Kali chops, Leon. Calm down.
I think you're right. Like August, I think it's going to be awesome. And I'm looking more forward to AEW because I want to know what they're going to do with All Out and All In. I still don't understand why they have All Out in the same month, but whatever. Forbidden Door, I think, is going to be sick. They've already started booking it, and it's.
Are they running a show in July?
I don't think so. I don't think they did last year. Their pay-per-views have been like when they introduce a new one, it's just like, hey, we have a new pay-per-view. It's happening in a month. There's not really any build-up aside from
I'm
that.
looking because I'm curious. It goes Forbidden Door, then All In. Okay.
They oversaturated the summer.
Well, not having a show in July is going to help.
Yeah.
Because you could do that full build. You could like a 7-week build to All In, and then you have All Out 2 weeks later, which is rough.
I love that. They're like, oh, we're moving it a week later. But that's not really that different.
No, then you have Wrestle Dream in October,
Mm-hmm.
and then November has Full Gear, and then World's End. I enjoyed that early Dynamite where they didn't have all those pay-per-views and they had to actually put shit on. You know what I mean? But I get the pay-per-view model of this show's here to sell you a pay-per-view, so you buy a pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I understand that, and I understand that helps them. I think it's helping them do storylines a little quicker
Mm-hmm.
and kind of a little more focused than before, where it could just be kind of random hodgepodge and the storyline could take way too long to develop. Now they have to do it a little quicker.
Yeah. They have to get matches started like 4 weeks out, not 2.5 days before the pay-per-view.
Yeah.
Which they've done. Like, they're kind of notorious for that. Tony is kind of notorious for that. I'm glad they're not doing that anymore.
WWE did that for a while, though, too, though. They just wouldn't tell you shit. You go to a pay-per-view, you never know what you get. ECW December to Dismember.
Oh, God.
Which is the worst pay-per-view ever. Ever. It's so bad. Joey Mercury's face exploded. That was about the only highlight of that show. The main event where they got rid of Punk first and then RVD second, and it was like fucking Test and Bob Holly, Lashley, and the Big Show in an ECW main event fighting for the ECW World Title in an Elimination Chamber, and the crowd's just like, "Yo, this sucks." That show was very poorly put together.
Yeah,
that was kind of their MO back then.
Also, I think that was by design. I think they were trying to shut down ECW at that point.
I think they were trying to change it. I think they wanted to get rid of that hardcore fan base, and I don't think they wanted to. That was the year where they had every company had its own pay-per-view.
Mm-hmm.
They had like 2 pay-per-views a month. They had the Raw one and the SmackDown one,
mm-hmm.
which
was fucking absurd.
It was because they charge you like full price for them, and they weren't good.
They weren't worth that price point, not by a long shot.
But it made no sense to me because they had the depth, they had the people. They pulled like everybody from WCW that was talented. They had like Eddie Guerrero, they had Chris Benoit, they had all these guys that were good, and they had all these up and coming guys that were so good. And those shows were like, let's put JBL in the main event.
It's the Incredibles problem. When everybody's special, nobody's special. When everything's a big fucking pay-per-view show, nothing's a big pay-per-view show.
It's true. Yeah.
Those were bad. Those were some of the worst pay-per-views.
Well, because they were
one more Ed. Go ahead.
They were still doing that model of like only booking shows like every month. Like you would start a program at the beginning of the month, and then at the end of the month, that would be the blowout, would be the pay-per-view. And so like storylines took a month, and that was all it took. And so you were getting the blowout of a storyline every 2 weeks.
That was the Attitude Era, though.
Yeah, you can't build shit in that. You can't build shit in that much time.
Yeah,
they did it in the Attitude Era constantly, but you had like a bigger storyline that you could just pull shit out of because it's super easy. Because we have Austin versus the Corporation. All we have to do is here's the new guy in the Corporation.
The fan base was way more invested in it at that point than when they were trying to do those 2 fucking pay-per-views a month.
If you go back and watch that, and you watch the way they built that, and the way they built the evil boss character, and the way they had Austin there, and the shit they did, it was so perfect. It was
Yeah,
it was
not
perfect. It
arguing
was
that.
absolutely perfect. They understood their roles. They knew what they were doing. Steve Austin in that spot was the best you could have ever had. Corporate Rock was great. Babyface, like Rock was there. The evil boss was like believable as fuck for very obvious reasons.
He was very evil.
But he also that's one of the other things though that when I look back on that, I look at how Steve Austin constantly got the upper hand on them and made them look bad.
Yeah.
And then there was this point where it turned where like for Stephanie and Shane and the rest of the McMahon family and the corporation or the powers that be, whatever the fuck we're going to call them, they never looked bad. They always made the baby faces look dumb. And that's half what killed it. Because I don't know if they thought like nobody could be like Austin, but they never gave anybody a chance. Even like John Cena looked like a fucking tool with them.
It's true. Yeah.
It's interesting. I think from like 2002 to 2019, I think that 20 even maybe 21. I think that era of WWE is very interesting for all the wrong reasons.
Yeah.
Because they had no competition.
Mm-hmm.
We'll go to 2019 because I think that's when the competition really showed up. They had no competition. They could do whatever the hell they wanted. And they just did not care. And they made every fucking major mistake you could ever make. They were worse than WCW in 2001. And you can't deny it. They were terrible. The shit but they were so big and they were the only promotion it didn't fucking matter. You would go to a WrestleMania and watch it, and it would be the worst thing you ever saw. And then they're like, "We've got 70,000 people in the stadium. We made them, billions of dollars tonight." And they did. Like they weren't lying. They did. But it was just, imagine if it was good. I guess is my thing because it wasn't. They didn't even try. They just gave up.
Yeah.
Fuckers.
Man, that's a really somber note.
It is, but if you look at professional wrestling, I mean, in our lifetimes, like the 80s boom was crazy, and it was geared at us because we were little kids. And then in the mid 90s, like we thought 1993, they always talk about 1993 and 1995 as being these rock bottom years. Like 95 was the bottom of the barrel. That was when WWF almost went out of business, and it was bad. Like Diesel versus King Mabel at SummerSlam. And then the Undertaker versus Underfaker main event.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, holy shit, this is bad. It was terrible.
Yeah.
It was terrible. But like
this crap.
But then I look at like 2016, 17, 18, 19. I don't know. I thought it was worse.
It was.
I thought the product was worse.
But they had, and a part of that is that like a part of that is like they had a fan base that they had conditioned to watch WWE. Like a lot of that fan base is not going to turn to PWG or ROH. I think the upside to like WCW going out of business and when WWE started going downhill, like 2001, 2002, that was when ROH popped up. That was when TNA popped up. That was when PWG, caught on fire. Or I'm not sure when they started. But like, you have all of these indie feds that like picked up the slack. And yeah, they're smaller. Yeah, it's hard for them to make the same waves that WWE does. But it's still changing the business and the way that it's done.
I don't think they mattered in the overall arc of wrestling. I think they were great, and I think we got some people out of them. But I think the WWE had such a fucking stranglehold on the whole business. None of it mattered. And the business was dictated by how strong WWE was, and that affected everything. If WWE was strong, the indies were strong. If the indies... And that it was so connected like that for so long. Until about 2016. Because then that changed. Could be right before AEW started, some shit started to change because some of the guys left WWE that had some name power, like a Cody Rhodes. Omega got really big. The Bucks got big. Those guys started to get a little more behind them. And then I think things started to change because the indies really picked up kind of in the 2010s.
Yes,
And that's but that's what led to AEW.
I think ROH is sort of like my cornerstone here. TNA not so much, but like ROH really, like, they really changed. I think they really changed the business, and they made all of these guys like Bryan Danielson, said it right. Like all of these guys who now are actually affecting what WWE does, and they are the faces of AEW. And instead of being like Hogan before them, or like these guys who sort of just had an ego and like, I'm the big name and I'm not going to teach the younger generation, these guys are actually teaching, you know, like this is how you do a match. Like this, they're passing it down. And I think maybe saying the business changed is not the right way to put it, because that would imply that ROH and the indies that came from that are actually affecting where money is going, because I don't think that it necessarily does, but it does change how WWE has to do business, especially now, because AEW is doing it instead of them, and NXT for that matter.
If you think about like a Hulk Hogan or a Randy Savage, or those guys from the 80s, or a Honky Tonk Man, what was their main goal? They wanted to make money. They wanted to stay on top, and they would do whatever they had to do that. And I don't think there was ever nobody ever understood the art of putting someone over. And it was more about me. And I don't think that this generation is. And I think that is, I think ROH had really good wrestling. The thing with ROH is, if ROH wasn't there, I feel like there just would have been another place those guys went, and they would do the same thing somewhere else. So I don't think ROH is as much as I like ROH, and as much as ROH had amazing shows, I feel like they weren't. I don't think they changed the business. I think they were a really good breeding ground for some really talented human beings that are very good wrestlers. And I think they learned their trade down there. And I think iron sharpens iron, and they had a lot of iron there.
Sure.
And their product fit that, because their product was, let's have good matches. Let's not have shit.
It was also a business that was built on that. Like it wasn't built on, we're going to make money. It was built on, not that they didn't want to make money, but it was built on looking at wrestling as wrestling. Looking at, these guys are talented, let's put them in the ring. Not just, I like the way this guy looks, we can sell some merch. Very different mindset. And I think it was, and ECW started that. Anyway.
The only caveat I have to that, that I want to say before we end this is, one of the things that I loved about the WWF from like 1985 until like 92, maybe 93, like 92, 93, was you had so many different characters that looked completely different, that worked completely different. Everybody was unique. And then the Attitude Era came, and there was still a lot of uniqueness, maybe not as much. But then after that, we started to have every guy that came out of the Performance Center was black trunks, black hair, tattoos, generic creator wrestler. Mason Ryan. I don't know if you remember Mason Ryan.
A little bit.
He was like 6'6", probably 300. Couldn't have passed the steroid test. And they put him out there. Look at how amazing he looks. And you watch him wrestle, you're just like, oh my God, he sucks. And that was what happened. They stopped being able to make stars because they just could not cultivate anybody. And I don't know why. And the guys they cultivated that are stars are guys that got trained elsewhere and like did other stuff. Like Seth Rollins is an ROH guy.
Yeah.
You know, so our ROH definitely has an effect on the business, but I think as a product as a whole, I think it was just a really good place for those guys to kind of do their thing.
Yeah.
And TNA was shit, so we don't even need to talk about TNA.
TNA was WCW 2.0, but I mean, we got some good guys out of that too. Anyway.
TNA was worse.
It was.
TNA was worse. I tried so hard to watch TNA, and I watched it, and I was just like, what the fuck is this?
Every time. I did the same thing.
You could not, and it was so bad. It was so stupid. And they had like these really, what frustrated me about TNA was they had these really good characters that were young, and they focused so hard on the WWE guys. Which people accuse AEW of doing. I don't think AEW does it the same way.
I would agree.
because AEW got guys that were actually in their prime, whereas TNA had like old Hogan, the Outsiders when neither of them could walk.
Yeah.
Guys in WWE that were like job guys for years that would like finally like comedy job guys, and they bring them in and like give them the belt. For every like they had Christian Cage, which was good. They had RVD when RVD still had something left, but RVD wasn't really. I don't think RVD was totally into the product at the time. I think he was just there to do something. And like they got Rhino when Rhino didn't matter anymore. It was just like the Dudley Boys when the Dudley Boys were just no one gave a fuck. So I mean TNA just did not. And they had like AJ Styles in his prime, and it's just like, why wouldn't you just have him beat everybody?
Yes.
But I digress.
You
I digress. Wrestling's fucking stupid.
It's weird and it's stupid, and we love it.
Unfortunately,
I have not been town. That's been town.
Hi, Tom.
I have been Gal and Leon. So long, fuckers.
Never know the truth of that story.